Hello and welcome to another session of OET Writing. Now today's topic is all about 7 common mistakes in OET writing which we see very common in OET candidates. Now let's start with this. I will be elaborating 7 different points or 7 different common mistakes which is in OET writing. Let's begin with the first one. The first one is incorrect use of grammar and punctuation. That is grammar and punctuation errors. In this, very common we see that test takers make often mistakes in subject-verb agreement, tenses and word orders. If you don't use appropriate word orders, then the exact informations or the meanings will not be conveyed to the reader. Punctuation errors like full stop, comma, or appropriate apostrophes, if not used, can cause confusion in meaning and it can affect your readability and accuracy with the writing task. Second point is all about spelling errors, which is very common. Nowadays, with many assessments, we have noticed people do make silly spelling errors, which is just a word copied from the question paper. Incorrect spellings can change the meaning and create confusions, and it can even affect your marking in terms of your assessment criteria on language part. So instead of 6 points, you may land up with 3 or 4 points if you make consistent spelling errors. So you should take appropriate time to check or to double check the spellings, especially for medical terms and drugs. Third point, very common, that is inappropriate greeting. We have noticed many a times test takers do address the beginning of the letter with respected doctor. Never to do that. We are doing a formal or a semi-formal letter to a healthcare professional. So we are writing it to a fellow healthcare professional. So we need to be very careful in using appropriate greeting. Make sure you address the recipient correctly and make sure you use the appropriate title and name of the target reader. So it's very essential in the beginning, make sure you underline the name of the target reader and appropriately address the name in your entire task. Because many a times I've seen like people get confused. Like for example, very common, people get confused with target reader's name and patient's name. And accidentally you end up writing the target reader's name, which is actually the name of the patient. So you need to be very careful, make sure you double check or cross check before submitting the letter. Next point is all about failure to address all points, which we call it as important information or relevant information. So it's very essential. Test takers should take initial time to analyze your question paper and pick up all the relevant information. Because if you miss on relevant information, you will be marked down on content and clarity, which is an essential integral part of your OET writing. Next one is inappropriate tone. That is, you need to understand the target reader's profession. You need to understand what kind of terminologies or the words your target reader can understand. Then you should use appropriate tone related to your target reader's understanding and profession. Like for example, if you're writing it to a social worker or maybe a primary caregiver, not exactly a complete medical professional. So if you're writing it to a caregiver, then make sure that you use simple terms, not to use many medical terminologies. Last one is poor organization. You don't organize your letter appropriately. If you don't understand that what kind of letter are you writing for what kind of scenario, like if you're writing for an emergency scenario, make sure the chief complaints or the current complaints are highlighted in the second paragraph, that is at the beginning of the letter after your introduction paragraph. This shows the clarity and this shows that you know very well how to organize the most important information in your letter. And you should also make sure the clarity and conciseness is not hampered. Test takers may take long time to make sentences, to make I would say that many a times I've seen candidates trying to make complex sentences. They make an effort to make complex sentences, which can end up in confusing sentences or word structures. So make sure write it in simple form in which a person can understand, and it can give a clear information what exactly you want to pass on to the test taker or to the reader. Perfect. I believe this was essential. Make sure for such videos, hit the subscribe button right now and make sure that you follow this page. We will be coming up with this kind of power-packed lessons which will help you in your preparation. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day ahead.